Question, fascination, exasperation, perspiration, complication.
Translate and decode the issues of the moment.
Talk Radio, the home of common sense.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining me. As we speak, from the 10th to the 13th of March, that includes today, of course, Crufts Dog Show is on. 20,000 doggies are going to be strutting their stuff, doing their thing at Crufts. So I thought it a timely look at dogs and mental health. Now, I hadn't even considered dogs and mental health, and I'm a dog lover. I've had cats before, but I'm primarily a dog lover. Well, comes the news that according to a new survey, nearly 3/4 of dogs in the UK show signs of poor mental health. 74%, that's around 8.8 million dogs. I didn't even realise that were that many dogs in the country, but still, exhibit behaviour indicating anxiety or depression. So how do you know if your dog is depressed? And what do you do about it? Well, according to the organisation Guide Dogs, who commissioned the survey, just taking Rover for a walk a couple of times a day doesn't cut it. That's not enough. Beverly Cuddy is the editor of Dogs Today and joins me now. Beverly, I didn't even consider that dogs have mental health. I mean, we just think doggies are doggies, but this survey says that a lot of us have been sort of neglecting their mental health.
Well, I think that it's obvious when your dog is happy and content and when something's a bit off. I mean, if you've got empathy for your dog, you totally are in tune. And they pick up on our mental health. So if we're not very happy, very often they're not very happy. And I think it's interesting that Guide Dogs commissioned this survey, because certainly some of the assistance dogs charities, where dogs are maybe having to be alert all the time to their owners' mental health, they can get burnout, because if they're really, really concerned about their person, it can worry them greatly because they are so bonded to us. So I think we've really got to invest in making sure we can read their emotions, because they spend a lot of time reading ours.
They sure do. So what can be some of the signs and symptoms of a doggy, struggling a bit that's not happy?
Well, I think you can see it. Sometimes they might lose weight. They may just be quite off their favourite things. They're not as excited as they used to be for all the highs and lows. Also, it can be that our lives have changed, their routines changed in some way. Maybe we started going back to work and they've been used to us being around, because dogs love to be with us as much as possible. If you go around and see homeless people, there's lots of dogs with homeless people, and they're the happiest dogs in the world because they're with their people.
I read that homeless people's dogs are the happiest in the world because they cuddle up to them at night. They're with them all day. I read that. So, but things like do unhappy dogs bark more or less, or is that a sign, or is that more of loneliness?
Well, I think separation anxiety is a form of mental health for a dog. They just can't cope without us, and sometimes separation anxiety will be manifest in howling, chewing at the door, trying to scratch to get out, and actually hurting themselves. So some of those sort of things really need urgent attention, and you need to get talking to a behaviourist really who can help you decode what's going on, and also give the dog some coping strategy. There are drugs that you can get through your vet that can help them learn new behaviours. So just like we sometimes need a little bit of help with our mental health, dogs are the same. And there are also things that you can plug in that give them a feeling of well-being and can stop them feeling quite so stressed out.
When you say plug in, do you mean like a radio, or what do you mean by a plug?
There's a few different ways of doing it. There is something that you can plug into the electrics that give off pheromones and things that make them feel a little bit more chilled. There's lots of things, like there's something the Americans invented called Karma Pet, which is like an iPod for a dog, and they've worked out which tunes make the dog the most relaxed, and very often classical music will help. I think there's Classic FM have a special day when fireworks are on, of all the tunes that dogs are most likely to relax to. And there's been some scientific research as well that dogs quite like reggae as well. There's
Oh, good.
yeah, dogs really do respond like we do to music. It can make them happy, and I think what we should really do, so instead of just guilting ourselves out and thinking maybe all our dogs are hugely depressed, invest in some interactive dog toys and new things to make fun out of feeding time. Make that a game. Make it something where they have some quality time with their person. Because when
you say fun out of feeding time, I saw something online where someone was feeding the dog with a spoon, which I thought, but when you say, like a baby in a high chair, yes, but when you say make fun out of feeding time, what sort of things could you do? I once dog sat a dog that could eat food, black Labrador, it might not surprise you, could eat food, literally put it down, and if it was still there 0.1 of a second later, it was being slow, Yeah. So how do you make it into a game?
Yeah, well, instead of inhaling the food, which Labradors will do if you give them the chance, maybe break it up into smaller amounts so that some of it's going to be used for treats, some of it will be used for games. Like even if you're, not well enough to go out, or, for massively long walks, you can play games where you hide the food around the house, and then they have like a hide and seek game where they're getting a bit of exercise. Their nose, of course, is so much more advanced than ours. So using those senses that really, well, for them it's like having a good sniff is like us reading a newspaper. They can tell so much about sniffing something. So make it more of an adventure, because really for many dogs food is the highlight of their day and they spend all day looking forward to it. Why not break it into smaller and smaller amounts and have a bit of fun where the food is the end reward? And there's lots of things you can do with that are on high calorie, like you can get really sturdy toys that you can stuff, and you can actually freeze stuff in there, so it's like a lollipop that they have to lick, so it takes longer and longer and longer to get the bit of food out of there. And really at the end of it, that's a mental workout for them. It's something that is got a beginning, a middle and an end, and just spend some time with dogs.
We're like a puzzle. Like you talk about a puzzle. Let's talk about the dogs. I think it's a fashion that's waning now. In America, they call them pocketbook dogs, but the dogs that are carried everywhere like little toys. And I mentioned that one online that's being fed by a spoon, and they rarely get to walk. Am I wrong in thinking? I feel uncomfortable with that. I just don't feel that that's what dogs are on this planet for. And I wonder if that does affect their happiness and mental well-being, or don't they know any different?
Well, I think when you get to know a small dog, you realise that they don't know they're small. And it's just, we imagine that they're, precious little tiny things, but they think they're huge. And we had a lovely dog that we featured on the cover last month, Lucky, who is a Chihuahua who really has the fullest life imaginable. But Lucky can go everywhere with her owner because Lucky is portable because she's tiny. So Lucky can go in a bag and go to places that other dogs cannot go. So it's a useful thing, but also does agility, does so much more with their life. So I think you have to sort of see it. It's a positive having a small dog because some places won't let you bring them in, but you can actually get really posh bags now that they can see out, people can't see in, so you can sneak them in places. But little dogs are big dogs. They don't know they're small, so make sure that they get as much chance to be a dog as possible, because they want to be with us all the time, but they also want a bit of time when they can have a good sniff and do things that dogs love doing. And Lucky's owner, I should give a huge shout out to, but when she discovered her little dog had a heart problem, she didn't just give up. This lady raised the money and took the dog to Japan, where they do heart surgery for dogs. Lucky was such a cosmopolitan dog, was used to travel, didn't mind going on a plane, went all the way to Japan for heart surgery, is back home now and is fit and well. And now we're starting to do heart surgery for dogs in this country. So it's used to be the end of the story if a dog had a heart problem.
Yeah, it was with my I had Hungarian poolies, and with both of them that was an issue. It was something in the breed. So that's really reassuring to hear. Now, just with dogs, I mean, the basic question is people are going to ask, but how many times a day do you walk a dog?
Well, I think that's the thing, is that it all depends what the walk is. If it's a boring walk where you're just walking around the block and it really is more of a toilet walk than anything else, well, that's not terribly stimulating. It's possible to make even your garden an adventure if you put your mind to it. So the actual miles covered well, I used to have a working Springer Spaniel, and anyone who thinks that, the longer you walk them, the more they'll fall asleep and they'll relax. No, the Springer Spaniel, they want to go further the next day and the next day. It's like an Olympic sport for them. They would just do it all day, every day, if you wanted to do that. Try and make it more of a stimulating experience than just a walk around the block where they just, when they do their business, you turn back and go home. Because really, we can train them to go in our own back garden, and then we can clear it up, and then we don't have to carry bags of poo everywhere. So it really does depend on the dog, and also the fitness of the dog. Some dogs, it's not, they're old. It's not a great idea to walk them too far because they're going to suffer. And in hot weather, you don't want to get walking in the middle of the day. So you've got to just be sensible. Also, get your dog used to being adaptable, because the last thing you need is for at a certain time in a certain day for them to go, it's time to go for a walk, because there'll be a day when you can't do it. So get them used to different lengths of exercise, different types of exercise. Mix it up. Don't get them too hung up on a routine, because it will stress them out when you change the routine. So,
and it will stress you out when you, because they'll stress you out.
Yes. Yes, when it's blowing a gale and it's pouring down, the last thing you need to do is to have a dog look at you like you're the worst, world's worst. Because
let's move it. Beverly, thank you so much for that. I think a lot of us just say, dogs are happy with us, and that's all we need to do. So it's made me definitely think again. I want to get another dog. I've got to get another dog. I miss my doggies.
I should tell you what my other job these days is a tech startup called Tailwise.com, where I'd love you to get in touch, because we help match you with someone who's going to rear a litter in the home and actually do half the hard work for you. So 8 weeks, hopefully they're house trained, sleeping through.
Thank you. Done. Thank you. Beverly Cuddy there talking about dogs. My thanks to the team. Holly Kyo, who put the show together with Johnny, was on a very well-earned holiday. Producer Johnny Seifert. Video producer is Isla Lona. Studio manager Dave Rhodes. And our assistant producer is Louise Rhodes. Thank you for watching and listening and being involved. Next week, I'll be doing it from the studio in London. So I will see you then. In the meantime, have a fantastic week.